Imagine this. The birds perched on your window might be watching you, but not for nature's sake. Could they be spies? In 2017, a seemingly ridiculous idea took flight and captured the imagination of thousands. Birds aren't real. What started as a joke, a protest sign waved in Memphis, quickly transformed into one of the most fascinating conspiracy theories of our time. The mastermind behind this movement was a man named Ethan Graves. At first, Ethan's goal was satire, a lighthearted poke at how easily people believe absurdities. But then, something unexpected happened. As the theory spread like wildfire, Ethan stumbled upon a chilling truth. The CIA had actually tried to use birds as surveillance tools during the Cold War. Yes, real documents revealed plans to turn our feathered friends into spies. Now, pause for a moment. What if this wasn't just history? What if remnants of those plans still exist today? This revelation sent Ethan and thousands of others on a journey deep into the world of hidden secrets. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. As we dig deeper, we uncover 3 even more disturbing unsolved mysteries tied to this bizarre story. Stay with me because the truth might just be more unsettling than fiction. What if the birds chirping outside your window were watching you, not for nature's sake, but for something much darker? In 2017, Ethan Graves stood on a street corner in Memphis, Tennessee, holding a sign that boldly declared, "Birds aren't real." The scene was bizarre. Ethan wasn't rallying a crowd, he was protesting another protest. To him, the idea was absurd, a counter-protest mocking the seriousness of it all. When curious pedestrians asked about his sign, Ethan smirked and said, "Birds? They're government surveillance drones."
Birds? They're government surveillance drones?
It was a joke. A ridiculous one. Or so he thought. But then, something unexpected happened. People started to believe him. The absurdity of Ethan's message caught fire. Photos of his sign made their way onto social media. Before long, others were creating their own signs, printing flyers, and even renting billboards. Ethan's prank became a viral movement, and the phrase, "birds aren't real," was everywhere. Here's the twist. As the movement exploded, so did the theory. According to its most devoted followers, the United States government, through the CIA, allegedly wiped out all birds between the 1950s and 1970s using B-52 bombers equipped with poison lethal only to birds. In their place, the government supposedly unleashed fleets of high-tech drones disguised as birds to surveil the population. Crazy, right? Or is it? Now, here's a question for you. What's the strangest conspiracy theory you've ever heard? Let me know in the comments. As wild as this sounds, the CIA's actual history of experimenting with surveillance technology adds a chilling layer of plausibility to this outlandish idea. So, are we really being watched by birds? Or is this just a modern myth that spiraled out of control? Let's dive deeper into this story, because the truth might just ruffle more than a few feathers. What if everything you thought you knew about birds was a lie? Their behavior, their purpose, even their very existence? The birds aren't real. Theory didn't stop at simply declaring birds were drones. Oh no, it dove much deeper into the bizarre. According to its believers, birds sitting on power lines weren't resting, they were recharging their batteries. That splatter on your car? Not bird poop, but a drone's way of marking your vehicle for tracking. The drones were so advanced they could recharge indefinitely using energy from high-tension power lines, eliminating the need for a home base. And it gets even wilder. Some claim that President Kennedy wasn't assassinated because of the mob or the CIA's political schemes. No, he was silenced for uncovering the bird drone program. Area 51? Forget aliens. It was the secret manufacturing facility for robotic birds, including a terrifying creation called the Turkey X-500. A Terminator-like drone designed to hunt down the last remaining real birds. Sounds insane, right? But here's the kicker. In 2021, Ethan Graves, the man behind the movement, finally broke character after 5 years. In a rare interview, he confessed,
"The truth is, I've been playing a character all along. Birds Aren't Real was never about birds. It was about showing how easily false information can spread."
What started as a joke became a viral sensation, earning Ethan and his partner thousands of dollars a month in merchandise sales. But keeping the fake theory alive had turned into a full-time job. And yet, ironically, while the theory was satire, Ethan stumbled upon a shocking reality. The CIA had actually tried to use birds for surveillance during the Cold War. Declassified documents obtained through a 2019 Freedom of Information Act request revealed real projects where birds were trained to carry surveillance equipment and even deliver explosives. While far from robotic drones, these programs showed just how close fiction and fact can sometimes overlap. So, as absurd as Birds Aren't Real might seem, its success revealed two unsettling truths: the power of satire and the disturbing history of government surveillance experiments.
Now, let me ask you, would you look at birds the same way again? Stick around, because the next part of this story gets even stranger. A secret memo, a bizarre experiment, and birds as spies, the truth is stranger than fiction. In March 1976, a CIA memo was uncovered, addressed to the Director of Research and Development. Its contents, eye-opening. It read, "A technical collection team has been formed to demonstrate the operational utility of an aviation asset. A new bird camera has been designed, weighing less than its predecessor, using 16mm film with motion compensation instead of 9mm. Testing of this new technology was to continue through June, with a final demonstration scheduled later that year." That's right, nearly 50 years ago, the CIA was experimenting with birds as surveillance tools, and this wasn't a one-off effort. The memo hinted at an ongoing project, raising a chilling question. How deep does this rabbit hole go? While the Birds Aren't Real movement is satire, it's built on a shocking kernel of truth. The US intelligence community has indeed tried to use birds for surveillance, but were they targeting foreign enemies, or were American citizens also under the lens? Here's where things get fascinating. In the 1960s, the CIA trained a red-tailed hawk to carry cameras over Soviet territory. The trials were promising, but there was a legal snag. Red-tailed hawks were protected species and couldn't be transported outside the US. The project was scrapped. Next, they turned to crows, hoping to bypass the restrictions. The idea? Equip them with lightweight cameras and send them on surveillance missions. But the crows couldn't reliably fly long distances or return to base. To make it work, the CIA would have needed to covertly ferry the birds by boat through the Baltic Sea and other waterways monitored by Soviet forces. The logistical nightmare was a deal-breaker. But the CIA wasn't ready to give up. In the 1970s, they launched the Taka project, focusing on homing pigeons. This time, the mission succeeded. These spy pigeons carried cameras and successfully captured images of Soviet facilities. Think about that for a moment. Birds equipped with cameras, spying on one of the world's most powerful nations. Now, here's the ultimate question. What else might they have tried that we don't know about yet? As absurd as Birds Aren't Real may sound, the real history of bird-based surveillance proves that truth is often stranger and scarier than fiction. So, the next time you see a pigeon perched on a lamppost, will you wonder what it's really watching? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. A bird dropping off a bug to eavesdrop on your secrets? It sounds like sci-fi, but during the Cold War it was reality. One of the CIA's most creative projects involved a trained raven. Yes, a raven. Unlike homing pigeons, ravens are independent and unpredictable, but that didn't stop the CIA from finding ways to make them invaluable tools of espionage. Here's how it worked. Agents trained the raven to respond to a flashing laser pointer. Wherever the light landed, the bird would go. Once there, it had a specific task. Either retrieve a small item left behind by an agent, or, even more intriguing, deliver a listening device to a strategic spot, like a windowsill. When the mission was complete, a specially designed lamp lured the raven back to its handlers. It's even reported that the raven successfully completed a mission in Europe. Unfortunately, the devices it placed picked up too much street noise to be effective. But the CIA wasn't done with avian espionage. Enter Project Aquiline. Launched in 1965, this time the goal wasn't to train real birds. It was to create aerial drones that mimicked large birds. These robotic birds were designed to fly over Soviet territories, collecting air samples to measure nuclear activity and transmitting the data back to spy planes. Here's where it gets even stranger. These drones were powered by a revolutionary propulsion system that converted waste heat from radioactive isotopes into electricity, allowing them to recharge mid-mission. Sound familiar? The birds aren't real. Conspiracy claimed modern bird drones recharge on power lines, but Project Aquiline had a real-life version of that idea decades ago. And in a bizarre parallel to the conspiracy theory, Project Aquiline was headquartered at none other than Area 51. The project was eventually cancelled, but the reasons remain classified. Could it have been because of technical challenges, or was something bigger at play? Here's the unsettling part. What if Project Aquiline didn't end? What if it evolved into something even more sophisticated, hidden under new code names and deeper secrecy? While the birds aren't real theory was created as satire, it hit closer to reality than anyone expected. The CIA truly spent decades experimenting with birds, both real and robotic, for surveillance. The only difference? These programs were smaller in scale and far less successful than the conspiracy imagines. But it leaves us with a chilling question. What if not all birds are as real as we think? Let that thought sit with you, because the truth, as always, is stranger than fiction. From dolphins to beluga whales, the oceans have witnessed military secrets stranger than fiction. Back in the 1960s, the US military faced a significant problem. They needed a way to protect ships and recover equipment from the ocean depths, but human divers just weren't cutting it. The waters were too cold, too deep, and the tasks too slow. Then someone had a bold idea. Why rely on humans when nature has already created the perfect underwater specialists? Enter the US Navy Marine Mammal Program, a covert initiative that's still active today in San Diego, California. At any given moment, about 70 dolphins and 30 sea lions are on standby, ready to be deployed. These marine mammals have done it all. Dolphins were used during the Vietnam War and both Gulf Wars. They've located underwater mines, guarded ships against enemy divers, and even rescued people lost at sea. US military official, these animals are incredibly effective. They can dive deeper, swim faster, and stay underwater longer than any human diver. Their natural abilities make them perfect for these missions. But here's where things get truly wild. The US wasn't the only country with this idea. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union developed its own marine mammal program. While this was thought to have ended in the 1990s, something strange happened in 2019 that made people question whether the program had truly been shut down. A Norwegian fisherman was checking his nets when he noticed a beluga whale behaving oddly. It swam right up to his boat as if it wanted something, and then he saw it, a harness strapped to the whale's body. When he removed the harness, he noticed something even stranger. It was fitted with a mount designed to carry cameras or weapons. The harness had markings in Russian, reading equipment of St. Petersburg. Marine experts analyzed the situation and concluded that this beluga whale had likely been trained to guard naval bases or even attack enemy divers. But the use of animals in espionage doesn't stop there. Both the US and Soviet governments have experimented with dogs, cats, and even venomous creatures for espionage. As early as the 1920s and 30s, Soviet scientists were attempting to communicate with animals through telepathy. After World War II, the Americans took a more invasive approach. They began implanting electrodes into the brains of animals, including dogs, hoping to control their movements with radio signals. The goal? To send them on missions into enemy territory. Some reports even hinted experiments involving snakes and other venomous creatures, though the details remain shrouded in mystery. Disturbing, absolutely, but it raises questions about the limits of human ingenuity and the lengths governments will go to for an edge in warfare. Did you know the CIA once tried to turn cats into spies? Sounds wild, right? But it actually happened, and it's one of the most bizarre and unsettling experiments in espionage history. Let me tell you the story of Operation Acoustic Whiskers. Picture this. It's the 1960s, the Cold War is at its peak, and the CIA is brainstorming unconventional ways to outsmart their enemies. Someone in the room must have said, "Hey, what if we used cats as spies? Think about it. Cats are stealthy, they roam wherever they want, no one suspects a thing when a stray wanders by." It sounded like the perfect plan, pun intended. But there was one glaring issue. Cats can't talk. So how would they relay what they overheard? The CIA's solution turned these cats into living recording devices?
Here's where it gets dark. Veterinary surgeons were hired to perform invasive surgeries on these unsuspecting felines. They implanted tiny microphones into their ear canals, placed small radio transmitters at the base of their skulls, and wove wires into their fur to keep the tech hidden. After these procedures, the cats looked like ordinary strays, but they were walking, meowing espionage machines. Now, this wasn't a cheap experiment. The whole operation cost taxpayers a staggering $20 million. But the CIA was convinced they'd cracked the code of the perfect spy. Then came the first field test. The target? 2 people chatting in a park near the Soviet embassy in Washington, D.C. The spy cat was released, ready to gather some top-secret intel. But what happened next was an absolute disaster. The cat barely made it 10 feet before, bam, a taxi came out of nowhere and hit it. Yep, the CIA's $20 million spy was gone in seconds. It's hard to imagine a more catastrophic failure. And while it might sound like a bad joke, this story really happened. What do you think? Was this an ambitious idea or just plain ridiculous? Share your thoughts.
Did a spy cat really live happily ever after? In 2013, former CIA Director Robert Wallace dropped a surprising twist about Operation Acoustic Whiskers. According to him, the infamous story of the cat meeting its end via taxi wasn't true. He claimed the feline survived, the equipment was removed, and the cat went on to live a long, happy life. Sounds sweet, right? But let's think this through. The CIA had poured $20 million and countless resources into this project. Would they really just scrap it and send the cat off into retirement? Skepticism aside, one thing is clear. By 1967, the CIA admitted Operation Acoustic Whiskers was a total failure. It turns out, expecting a cat to follow orders is like trying to herd, well, cats. And as for that beluga whale in Norway, could it be the tip of the iceberg? What other covert operations could still be swimming below the surface, undetected? The truth, as always, is stranger than we can imagine. But Acoustic Whiskers isn't the only bizarre experiment in the espionage playbook. Let's fast forward to World War II and cross the Atlantic, where British intelligence came up with an explosive idea. Literally, enter the rat bomb. Title: When Dead Rats Became Weapons. In 1941, British Special Operations Executive, or SOE, devised a cunning plan, stuffing rat carcasses with plastic explosives. The idea was simple but brutal. Scatter these explosive rats near German coal storage and boiler rooms. Why? Workers typically disposed of dead rats by tossing them into furnaces. One unsuspecting toss could create a devastating explosion, especially in pressurized steam boilers. The SOE collected about 100 rats for this unusual mission, but before the plan could be executed, German forces intercepted the shipment. No rats went boom, but the psychological impact was enormous. Paranoia swept through German territories, with intense searches for more booby-trapped rodents. The British even called the operation a success, noting the disruption caused was greater than if the rats had actually detonated. Meet Charlie the robo-catfish spy. If you thought explosive rats were wild, wait until you meet Charlie, a robotic catfish created by the CIA in the 1990s. This underwater drone was designed to blend in perfectly with its aquatic surroundings while gathering intelligence. Built for stealth, Charlie's mission was to explore the potential of submersible drones in espionage. What do you think of these wild attempts at espionage? Are they genius or just absurd? Let us know. From RoboFish to flying spies, the CIA's wild tech experiments. What if the world's stealthiest spy was a fish? Meet Charlie, a robotic catfish designed by the CIA in the 1990s. At first glance, Charlie looked like an ordinary 2-foot-long fish gliding through the water. But beneath his scaly exterior was a high-tech surveillance system. Equipped with a pressure hull, a ballast system, advanced communications gear, and a hidden propulsion mechanism in his tail, Charlie could be guided remotely via a handheld radio device. His exact missions remain classified to this day, but his creation signaled just how far the CIA was willing to go in the name of espionage. But Charlie was only the tip of the iceberg. The CIA's fascination with animal-inspired tech had started much earlier.
Enter the Dragonfly drone. In the 1970s, the CIA launched the Insectothopter, a spy drone disguised as a dragonfly. This tiny marvel of engineering featured a microphone no bigger than a bead and transmitted audio via a laser system. Powered by a miniature gas propellant, the drone's wings flapped like a real dragonfly. All thanks to the precision craftsmanship of a watchmaker, it was an impressive feat, but there was one glaring issue: wind. Even the gentlest breeze sent the drone tumbling out of control, forcing the CIA to abandon the project. Or so they claimed.
From dragonflies to bumblebees, by 2010 the game had changed. The US Air Force revealed a new generation of micro-air vehicles, tiny drones the size of bumblebees, and some even smaller, like mosquitoes. Then in 2015 they announced something straight out of a sci-fi novel, lethal mini-drones based on none other than Leonardo da Vinci's ancient blueprints for flying machines. The details of these advancements remain murky, but one thing is clear: technology was advancing at lightning speed. Earlier this year, researchers in the Netherlands unveiled a groundbreaking neural network with nearly 29,000 neurons capable of processing camera data in real time. This system can control swarms of micro-drones, navigating them autonomously with terrifying precision, if this is what they're sharing with the public. How advanced do you think classified projects might be? Let us know your thoughts. When bugs become super spies. Imagine tiny robots no bigger than insects, zipping through the air, resilient enough to survive crashes and even capable of self-repair. Sounds futuristic, right? Well, in 2023, researchers at MIT turned this into reality. They developed bug-sized robots with advanced actuators, mechanical muscles that could withstand significant damage and keep going. But the real kicker: they're working on a laser-based repair technique that could one day fix these robots mid-mission. These innovations mean the era of unbreakable nano-drones is closer than ever. But here's the twist: not all surveillance tech needs cutting-edge robotics. Sometimes the best spies are the ones we see every day and never suspect. Are seagulls and flies alien spies? In early 2023, Nick Pope, a former UFO investigator for Britain's Ministry of Defence, made a jaw-dropping claim. Speaking to a reporter, he suggested aliens might already be watching us, not through telescopes or satellites, but through the eyes of seagulls and houseflies. Nick, who spent years analyzing classified UFO reports and military intelligence, argued that this method of surveillance was brilliant. Think about it: flies and birds are everywhere, and no one gives them a second thought. He explained that if human military could keep massive stealth bombers hidden from the public for years, imagine what an advanced alien civilization could do with drones the size of insects, or actual living creatures modified for surveillance.
What's next for spy tech? Between MIT's nearly indestructible bug bots and the eerie idea of aliens using everyday animals as their eyes and ears, it seems like the line between science fiction and reality is blurring faster than ever. So what do you think? Could aliens really be watching us through the eyes of a fly, or is this just another conspiracy theory? Let us know. Is Big Brother watching through a fly's eyes? Nick Pope's chilling theory didn't end with just seagulls and flies. He suggested something even more unsettling. If aliens were preparing for an invasion or takeover, they'd need detailed intelligence about us. They'd want to understand our routines, interactions, and vulnerabilities. And what better way to spy on us than through creatures we see every day? Nick argued that aliens wouldn't need to control every bird or fly, just enough to maintain constant surveillance. He even suggested that using living creatures might be more effective than deploying drones. After all, who would suspect a harmless housefly of being an intergalactic spy? What do they really want? Nick also hinted that what we see today, like military drones and surveillance tech, is only the tip of the iceberg. If human governments are hiding advanced technology, who's to say aliens aren't doing the same? Whatever their intentions, one thing is certain: the truth remains hidden, shrouded in mystery and speculation. Let's hear from you. If you've made it this far, drop a comment below saying, "Birds aren't real," so we know you're one of the sharp-eyed few who stuck around. Love diving into strange and supernatural tales like this? Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more thrilling content. Until next time, keep an open mind and stay curious. See you in the next video.